without any further ado, and we don't want to keep him too long. No. We're a little late already, but he's down, boots on the ground. I do believe Jamie McLennan, he is our EST hockey analyst, usually joins us on Wednesdays. Him and CJ swapped this week, and Noodles is for GCL Diesel. Or GS Construction, pardon me. I'm just going through my liner notes here. GS Construction, they're hiring today. Check out gsconstruction.ca for more info. And Noodles joins us on the Firehouse Subs hotline. You are in Winnipeg, correct, Noodles?
Yes, I did a show yesterday and doing one today, and then flying out. I'm not staying for the Grey Cup.
Okay.
I mean, I did run into Dusty and had a good chat with him yesterday, but I've got kids hockey this weekend, so I got to make sure I'm home for my son's hockey tournament. But yeah, I'm in Winnipeg, so it's a great atmosphere around here. It's crazy. It's electric.
Yeah, you're feeling good though. Like the Winnipeg flu hasn't got you yet, or whatever. Like you are. It's a business trip. I mean, are you kind of getting out and loosening the tie a bit?
I did not go drinking last night like everybody else. For some reason, it's been a long week, so I just took it easy. Stayed in. Watched. Unfortunately, watched that Oiler game. That was weird of a mess. And then watched Winnipeg play. So it was and Calgary. So I had a bunch of games on the docket last night. So just stayed in and ordered some Uber Eats, and I'm fresh this morning. Gonna go work out.
Love it, love it. Well, let's get into that game, I guess. We need to get into the tough stuff here. The Oilers have been playing with a little luck. Of course, the game against Columbus earlier in the week. Roslovic, the overtime hero. They're kicking off that 7-game road trip in Philly. Roslovic, the overtime hero. Andrew Cogliano did it 3 times. Roslovic couldn't meet him there on that record, but kind of the luck running out last night. Columbus probably wanted that one, maybe a bit more. The Oilers' luck in Columbus hasn't been good over the past few years, but I mean, with this team right now, from night to night, it's usually one thing or the other, but what are you kind of focusing on from last night in terms of what was plaguing the Oilers for the most part?
I don't know. I mean, it's just the easy and it's a lazy narrative, but I mean, a lot of nights their goaltender has been the second best goaltender on the ice. And, you know, what did Pickard have? 6 or 7 posts last night?
Yes. 7, I think.
You know, and as well as 5 by him. You know, I always used to joke when they hit the post, it means your angles are pretty good. But, you know, I didn't love his game. I'll be honest. And it wasn't his fault. Believe me. I thought there was a lot of passengers in front of him, but there is you do need a save at a right time. And, you know, he didn't. Stuart Skinner gave in his last 2 games, he gave big saves at the right time. And, you know, both were in overtime for Skinner. I didn't love Pickard's game. I didn't love the halfway through the game. They had 4 shots on goal. They just seemed like they weren't into it. And then when they turned it on, they got back into the game. But there were key mistakes, like missed assignments. Jake Wallman hasn't found his game. To me, he's second on every puck. He's, his reads are poor. Like some of the things that are glaring have to be cleaned up. So, yeah, whether Columbus wanted it more, I thought Roslovic had a chance with a couple seconds left to tie it. He had that shot.
Yeah.
And Greaves made the good left pad save. So Edmonton pressed a lot. McDavid had the tying goal that gets called back. So there were a lot of different storylines last night. But in the end, I don't think they were ready to play. And by the time they woke up, it was too late.
Noodles, would you have started Skinner? I've heard the argument, look, you don't run a guy 3 straight, not in this day and age. But given the way he's played and the way the team has played in front of him, largely, with the exception of that Colorado game, would you have come back with him last night?
Not in a back-to-back. The only reason I would say this, and I believe in, analytics and the sports science and all of that type of stuff, but I'm just managing the schedule. That's really what it is. You got 7 road games. You got a couple back-to-backs, even, I believe, this next week. Friday today, so next week. So I think usually it's traditional that the backup gets the second half of the back-to-back. And I get that. But, that's up to Calvin Pickard to be ready for that game and give them a chance. Like, I remember Darryl Sutter saying to me years ago, the backup's job is just not to give the starter a night off. The backup's job is to get points. and you've got to be 500. You at least have to be 500 as a backup, because you are going to get some crappy starts in back-to-back situations with travel and all of that fun stuff where the guys are going to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning after a game the night before. So, I'm not laying it at the feet of Pickard, but the guy who won 22 games last year and I believe 7 in the playoffs, his game hasn't been to the level I've expected it. And, last night, again, there wasn't a lot of chance on some of these goals, but some of them, if his movement was a little bit crisper, I think it'd be better. I don't love the goals through the body. I know there was a nice deflection that deflected down, but in the end, he's got to be a little bit crisper to get his game going, because obviously the goaltending is a lightning rod, and you have to know that Stan Bowman has been probably shopping the market. So guys' jobs are on the line.
TSN's Jamie McLennan joining us for GS Construction on the Firehouse Subs hotline. Just going off last night again. Zach Hyman, I mean, Oilers fans are waiting like a kid at Christmas time for his return, and rightfully so. I mean, he brings a lot to this team that they're missing, but he doesn't fix goaltending. He doesn't fix, defensive errors. There's a lot of things like outside of his parameters that he can fix when he does end up returning, and in what capacity, given the injury he was out. So, I mean, how much does he, I know we know him in the room. It's not just on the ice, it's off the ice with him. Of course, he'll be a body in that top 6 eventually, which means maybe I think probably a Mangiapane currently might be the odd man out. But, how much, I guess, of a boost and how different of a team will this team be when he returns? Because I get the sense a lot of fans are just kind of looking at that and saying, yes, when he comes back, all will be forgiven, all will be, cleansed, and they'll go on and play like the team they've been playing like for the past 2 years.
Well, Hyman is going to inject life because of his work ethic. So if you look at his engine, his forecheck is relentless. He's physical on the forecheck. He helps turn pucks over. He helps keep plays alive. So he's going to help absolutely in the top 6 when he gets up to speed. I say this, and this is probably a weird thing to say, but I think Janmark has helped. Janmark is a bit of a spark, right? Mm-hmm. Like I think Janmark kills penalties. He can't score. He struggles to score. But at the end of the day, he's a guy who's an engine. And so I think Janmark settling in. I think a guy like Hyman and getting RNH back, all of a sudden the power play looks different. Savoy looks like a player. Savoy looks like he can play. Mangiapane has struggled to play in that top 6. He had a chance on a potential partial breakaway yesterday, and he bobbled the puck, and Werenski made a good stick play, but you got to find a way to get a shot off there when McDavid sends you in. So, to me, there's little plays where I think Mangiapane has more. It's unfortunate because, Roslovic looked like he settled in, and he's dangerous as a player when he gets the puck, and he's getting more and more confidence as he's learning to play with his line mates. But injecting Hyman, having RNH back, a very cerebral centerman, and having a healthy Janmark, help the penalty kill, I think that's going to help stabilize, because it is going to push guys either out of the lineup, a guy like Tomaszek. It's going to push guys down in the lineup. I'd like to see more from Frederick. I'd like to see more from Henrique. Henrique looks his age, which is, disappointing in certain situations, because I think Henrique's a really strong player, but I think he looks a little bit some nights slower and deliberate instead of, Corey Perry's slow and deliberate, but he gets stuff done, right? And that's the difference in missing a guy like Perry around the net. So there is some things, but it's a long-winded answer, but Zach Hyman is going to help that group and inject some life into it and some work ethic, and really his attitude is infectious, and let's hope he comes back sooner than later, because I've been waiting. I don't know what the time clock is, but they keep saying he's close, close. But I want him to be 100% when he comes back. We can't have him at 95% and re-aggravate something, or have something where he's not feeling good, or he pulls a muscle. Let's make sure he's 100% come back so that he doesn't, when he comes back, so he doesn't come out of the lineup because of maybe, a setback or something like that.
So if you're Stan Bowman, Jamie, and this road trip doesn't, roll out very well, let's say, and they come home, where are you looking first if you have to make a move? And it's easy to talk about making moves, and certainly in the area of goaltending, trading for a goaltender is a really, really difficult thing to pull off. Where would you go if you were in his position?
Well, I mean, everyone's talked about UC Saros. Everybody's talked about Jordan Binnington. Those are the names that you covet based on where those respective organizations are. Mm-hmm. There's no guarantee that those guys are available. That's the problem. We all can speculate in the media and as a fan base and play fantasy GM, but you have to think that Stan Bowman has had conversations. They just had GM meetings. I guarantee you pull Doug Armstrong aside, because it's been reported by insiders that St. Louis, everybody's open for business. Everybody's available. That's apparently what has been bandied about out there by the insiders. But what is the cost of doing business? Doug Armstrong's not doing anybody a favor and just asking, here, Jordan Binnington for a seventh rounder. He's going to want a king's ransom for a starter. This guy's going to be Team Canada's starter. And he's got cost certainty and another year on his deal. You've got UC Saros, who has an 8-year deal. And I think he's a hell of a goaltender. I really do. But again, you're going to have to pay a king's ransom to get somebody with cost certainty. I don't think Nashville's going to chew any of that salary. How do you make that work? So there's a lot of moving parts. But I would say, to shake this team up, I look at it, the decor I like the decor. They just have to play better. That's the difference. Like it's, if they play better, then I'm not as worried about that decor. Jake Wallman has more. Bouchard's starting to come out of it. You see Ekholm starting to skate better. Kulak's a guy I don't think has found his game yet. And maybe there's the pressure of potentially a contract or not a contract. All of that type of stuff might be distracting. Regula, is that how we pronounce his name? Is it Regula?
Yeah.
Okay. He's solid. But there's times the other night I thought he should have taken his gear off. He kept turning the puck over against Colorado. I mean, it was just nonsense what was going on with that whole group on the back end. But I think as a group, they're fine. The forwards, they're small and speedy, but that's where you need your bigger players to be better. And I think a guy like Frederick, he had the fight, but he's still not. I don't think he's in on pucks. I don't think he's overly physical. I think he needs to have more. Philp has been nice, but when you look at it, I would say the number one thing is you look at goaltending, and then I think at some point you're going to have to figure out where all these pieces fit. The new players. You've got young players that have potential, but is Howard fit in, or is he a guy that needs to play higher in the lineup to be effective? I don't think he's going to get that chance when everybody's healthy. So you're looking at Stan Bowman with some decisions, but long-winded answer. I look at it. I think that goaltending has to at least be at the forefront for this group.
Love it, Noodles. We'll leave it there. Let you get back to it. Just before we let you go, obviously you are in Winnipeg. 112 Grey Cup Sunday. Riders, Alouettes. Who you got? And give us a score if you can.
So I had a chat with Luke Wilson, who is a CFL guy now, we'll call him. But he's leaning Saskatchewan. I don't know. I mean, it's what's a 3-point spread? I'm saying 27-24, but I think Montreal might get it done. And that's just a gut feeling. I don't have the insight. I haven't talked to the Dave Naylor we had on the show. So Dave's more of an insider and stuff like that. But Luke thinks that Montreal has a slight edge. I'm sorry, Saskatchewan has a slight edge. I lean Montreal slightly.
Yeah, Riders -4 as it stands right now up at our Partners Play Alberta. But we appreciate it, man, going out there and making that brave pick. And all the work and the time you spend with us, Noodles. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, man.
All right, thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks.
Chat soon.
That's our EST hockey analyst for today, Jamie McLennan.